truck of bunting and party decorations had arrived, and Miss Rolops had done a wonderful spread in the station refreshment rooms. Edward was kept busy pulling passenger trains all day, as the local bus service wasn't running due to floods after heavy rain the night before. No matter, Edward said to himself, I like being busy. Later that day, a special train had been arranged to take passengers to the junction to welcome home Jim. The coaches insisted on being cleaned, and Bernard had his lamps polished. Edward too was cleaned for the occasion, coupled up to his coaches filled with passengers, and they set off to the junction. Miss Rolops had given the guard instructions to make sure her ice buns were secured on the journey. Edward made good time, but unknown to him, Daisy, a temperamental cow at the best of times, had broken a fence and was stood in the middle of the track. When Edward saw Daisy, he applied his brakes. Mrs. Rolops' ice buns went everywhere, but Edward just stopped in time. Luckily, Farmer Turnips was on the train and put Daisy back in the field with Hector, though Hector wished he was with Hercules, who was in the opposite field. Then Edward set off again. "Oh, you made us late, you frightful animal," the coaches said to Daisy, who moved rudely at them. Edward made it to the junction station just a little late. "We thought you'd gotten lost." "No, just a cow on the..." "Yeah, speaking of cows, mate, Mrs. Rolops' ice buns have gone everywhere, all over my brake van." Then a familiar whistle was heard. Passengers turned and cheered as Jim pulled into view. He negotiated the points and was then back onto his own branch line. "Welcome on, Jimmy. Good to see you back, like." "Thank you, sir. It is good to be back, and thank you too, Edward, for looking after my branch line. Oh, it's been a wonderful time." After photos were taken of the two engines, all the passengers were back on. "Oh, I've missed this line. Your railway's ever so nice. The steam engines there are treated with utmost respect." "Yes, they are. Some can be a bit puffed up in the smoke box, though. Did you meet Gordon?" "Oh yeah, I did. Did you meet Scott?" "Oh yes, I got him out of a nasty snowdrift." At last they made it home, and after Edward had shunted the coaches away, the crews enjoyed a splendid fish and chip supper in the station refreshment rooms. After supper, Edward set off back home to Sodor, whistling goodbye to Jim as he went. Jim noticed Miss Rolops giving the guard a good talking to after ruining her ice buns. "Hey, what are you doing, smiling my ice buns like you? Just making them. How could you do that, you know, of all the ingredients I bought? Oh, how could you, you nasty man?" He was happy to be back home and back in his own shed too. After a while, he fell happily to sleep.